Well, he's such a well-known name in league circles. He was a wonderful player when he played, and now we get to see him, of course, sitting there as part of the team that presents the Warriors. And I was watching you last weekend, mate, and at the end of that game, it was just brilliant. The look on your face was, I think, exactly what I felt, which is so cool about it. It was just like, what the hell did I just see?
Absolutely. When I think you probably mentioned it, and a lot of people probably did, turn the TV off. The wrong mistake. They turned the TV off 20 minutes into that game, and they were unfortunately not able to see the greatest comeback I've seen in a long while.
You know, how much longer can, this go? And that, what worries me, I get worried about all kinds of things, but what concerns me is you can't keep coming back from deficits. And I know Andrew Webster said this week, he said, look, we're not talking about that. We're just isolating performance in individual players. But look, in any sport, you can't keep coming back from 2 or 3 tries down.
Yeah, there is an element of that. And he's right. The more you talk about, the more focus becomes on the start instead of looking at the areas where they can improve on. So forget about the slow starts, or should I say the penalties that are resulting from getting them out of trouble. So it's actually some of the actions that they're doing to enforce that they're drawing in the penalty, the tries. So it changes the way you think about it as opposed to the starts all the time. You're right, though, because it's going to be a time where that's not going to work for them, but it's actually worked for them. The more concerning part for me, Marty, is probably the effort that they've put in and being on the road. The fatigue levels is probably the more concerning part of it.
Okay.
If they can manage that better, because it's going to be a time where they're going to fatigue because they've been under such enormous amounts of fatigue in those last couple of games, that it has to have an effect at them at some point, particularly if you had to travel them as well.
I was saying last week, I hope you agree, I said, look, I don't think that the game against the Dogs would have been won if we hadn't have beaten North Queensland. And I said the same. I didn't think that Cronulla would have won if we hadn't have beaten the Dogs. None of these games are easy. And going away to Newcastle, don't even think for a second this is easy. These are all cup final or grand final games to me.
Yeah, and that's when you get yourself into a bit of trouble when you start thinking it's easier games. Nothing's easy in this competition. You can lose against yourself because of the way your attitude towards the game. So every game is like it's a must-win, and every game's like a final. So I think that's the way they've approached it, and to be honest, that's the way they're playing at the moment. I've never seen the side so resilient that I've seen in the last month, to be honest.
Wow. Down
and out. Gone in the first 10 minutes. I think the great saying was the old my coach Gus Gould would say you can win a game in the first 10, you can lose it in the first 10, but they are battling against the odds. In that game they have battled, and I don't know why and how they're doing it. Well, clearly we know why and how, but you just look at the stats and say, no, this is just not right. It doesn't compute. It doesn't add up.
That goal on defence, mate, that goal on defence, and it's the defence for me. It's not the repeat sets at 6. It's the defence after the third or the fourth one, and that is just a level of fitness and a level of, I suppose, trust in your teammate, but also a level of want that's there that we haven't seen for a long time. Yeah,
there's a level of we must do it as opposed to need now. They've got such belief. There's a belief in that side, and the winning's a culture, and you're starting to see it, and you haven't seen people smile after games, have you?
No.
So there's the recipe for success, is they're working harder for each other, they're enjoying the ride, and that's just riddled through the whole team. Everyone's talking about it. Even the commentators in Aussie are starting to echo the same thing. And so, belief is everything, right? And so when you start to hear it in the communities, on the airwaves, that becomes part of your belief system. And for so long, it's been such an entrenched situation in New Zealand about the Warriors and the stigma that it comes with them. Not anymore.
Not right now. The table doesn't lie. 4 wins out of 5. Okay, Richie Barnett is with us, played professional league, of course, for the Sharks, for the Roosters, over in England as well. Very proud captain in New Zealand as well. The balloon is going to get a prick at some stage, and to me, it's like I follow, a lot of other sports, and especially my football and my NFL. It's always, it's always talked about the bounce back. When that happens, it's what you do the next game. So, it's not like we're going to go through the rest of the season unbeaten. That's just ridiculous to think because the competition isn't like that, and everyone can beat everyone on a given day. So, how important is that then to keep that in mind? That hey, a loss is a loss. You can stomach a loss. What you can't stomach is 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah, and I like the way Webster's gone about it and saying, although the effort level, we'll drop in fatigue, but it doesn't stop us from being positive and energy in certain aspects of the game. I really like what he's doing. From a psychological point of view, I think what he's doing is so damn good. And if he can keep that spark alive and manage the way they train, there is no reason why they can't continue this on. Yes, they're going to have some momentum swings here and there. There's no question about it. I think they've got the players to do that, to win those battles mentally and physically. I'm being really impressed with the type of characters I've got in their team. Chance has been amazing.
Yeah,
their back
excellent,
five has been superb. Wayne Egan has lifted the bar. Marata Nuakuri has been just stoic on the edges. Josh Curran comes in and smashes it out. They've had probably 2 or 3 injuries, and you think, oh, this could drop here. This could drop. Guess what happens? Nothing drops.
Yeah, next guy comes up. Next guy stands up, doesn't it?
And they're away.
Richie, also, what impressed me last week as well was, we were getting done on the edge, and it's so difficult during a game as, you can tell me this, obviously, but, I kind of look at it and think it must be one of the hardest things to change tactics during a game, to pull the handbrake up and go, okay, that's happening. Now we've got to do something about it. But you saw the players after, I think, the second or third try that was scored, looking actually at the TV. It was almost like they were looking at it going, okay, so he was there. What do we do next?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
That was great analytical look, isn't it? It's because they didn't know what they were doing, because it's so hard for players to discuss what it looked like. Because it's the third defender in, they draw, and there's that block play they play on the edges where they have a lead runner and a block runner, and they execute it so well, Cronulla, and the inside. They're the best attacking side in the competition for that reason. And so that third defender has got a decision whether he gets a call from the inside to push out, or he makes the ultimate decision to whether to stay or slide out. And it's a fraction of a second. And you cannot do that in a fraction of a second. It's very difficult to do when they execute it very well. So they're going to have better push on the inside to make sure they've got an extra man or a man that can make a decision and get across quick enough.
All right,
it's a tough job on the edge, buddy.
Away at the Knights then, they come off a 32-all draw, which is just an extraordinary game. I don't know whether you got to see that. It was just an amazing game to watch last week. Okay, so what are the things that you're looking at are the keys to winning at Newcastle?
I personally think that they're going to be their start. I really do. I think if they can get a start and really pile on some points early, because Newcastle are just building as well. They've been mentioned very little, but they're a fairly handy side in itself. So if they get the start right, I think they're going to build on it, and they can really bust Newcastle apart. If they start poorly or slow like they have been, I don't think it's going to last forever. And I think that's the focus, and I hate to say it, but that's going to have to be their measure.
How tempting is it for somebody like you, Richie, to look, start looking long term and start thinking, oh, heck, we might do this, we could make the 8, we could all of that, or are you grounded enough to go, okay, it is week to week in this competition, and the moment that you forget that, you do get bitten?
Yeah. You're going to get some periods where they're going to lose quality players, There's going to be times in that there's been so many injuries over the last number of years because of the way the game's played, and the ball's in play about 5% more than last year. So you have to be fitter, and they're probably one of the fittest teams in the competition. Did I just say that?
It's amazing. It's so true. It's so. I mean, I went out to the first media session after the first training session, and he was flogging them in the sunshine, and that. Every one of those players mentioned that they felt that their off-season had been really, really good, that the preparation put in was because of that,
Yeah, and that's everything, that's recovery, and they're well in tune with how do they do that with the recovery and all the types of things. They have the tools to manage that. But it's a different side. It's a fit side. It's a resilient side, and all the characteristics you talk about. We've heard this all before, but they're actually doing it. It's a different model, and the defence on the edges, although they've been sort of drawn in, their defence is so it's stoic, and everyone is on the same page. The edges particularly, the middle is fronting up immensely. That was the downfall last year, is that they were able to get through the middle with ease, and they were exploited on the edges last year. Not so this time.
Look, finally, thank you so much for your time, mate. I just also love the fact, it's just a sport numpty, that's what I am, mate. I just love the fact, that the fans, the diehard fans deserve this. I look at yourself and I look at Monts on the TV and I just think, you guys deserve this. I mean, because it's the team wears a lot of crap, wears a lot of flack, and deservedly so. In moments like this, you've got to sit back and enjoy it, and that was so delightful to see your reaction at the end of the last game.
Yeah, I was gibbering away, and they think that I'm not a Warriors fan. Of course I am. I'm one of their biggest fans behind the Roosters and Cronulla, and I have, but I just enjoy a positive aspect of talking about the Warriors. And this has been a joy to see most of those supporters that have put in for the last 3 years, and some of them have paid their money for membership over those 2-3 years. We forget that. Those people have paid, and sponsors have still been a part of that organisation. To all the people, the supporters of the Warriors and the sponsors in the community that they've got behind them, that kept them in their game, you guys deserve this for this last month. And I know it can change brutally, but I'm confident to say that this is just not a month episode for the Warriors. This is I see characteristics that become a winning culture in that organisation. So, yeah, wonderful to watch. Love it.